All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are taking a deep dive into some truly uplifting
Oh, I
stories
love.
that celebrate the best of humanity.
Yeah, these deep dives are so refreshing, you know.
They really are.
It's good to remind ourselves that amidst all the chaos and negativity, there's still so much good happening in the world.
You're so right. And we have the perfect source material for this.
Okay, what is it?
This script called Heartbeat, Human Connections. And let me tell you, it is jam-packed with stories that'll warm your heart. We're talking about everyday people.
Like you and me.
Yeah, exactly. Doing extraordinary things
hmm
just to make someone else's day a little bit brighter.
I think that's what fascinates me most about this. It's not these grand gestures or these huge productions. It's these simple,
These little things.
yeah, genuine acts of kindness that can have a ripple effect on everyone around us.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And one of the stories that really stood out to me was this one about a whole community in Illinois that came together to make sure that every single kid at their local elementary school had all the school supplies they needed.
Wow, that's amazing.
Can you imagine the impact on those kids, knowing that their entire community believes in them and wants to see them succeed?
It's such a beautiful example of what collective action can achieve,
Yeah.
making a real, tangible difference. It's not just about the supplies themselves, right? It's about fostering that sense of belonging and showing those kids that their community cares about them.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's this other story in the Heartbeat script about a community in Melbourne, Australia,
Okay.
that decided to throw a surprise birthday party for a 90-year-old woman who didn't have any family to celebrate with.
Ah, that's lovely.
These stories really highlight how important community support is,
Hmm.
especially for people who might feel isolated or forgotten.
Yeah, and I think it really drives home the fact that we all need connection. It's a fundamental human need.
It is.
And these acts of kindness, whether it's school supplies or birthday party, they address that need in such a meaningful way.
So true. And, speaking of connection, the script also features a story about a group of high school students in Japan
Mm-hmm.
who organized a virtual event to connect with seniors living in care homes.
Oh,
They
wow.
were sending messages, videos, even doing little virtual concerts, all to combat loneliness and isolation among the elderly.
That's amazing. We often hear about how technology leads to isolation,
Right.
but this is a perfect example of how it can be used for good, to bridge that generational gap and create those meaningful connections.
And it's incredible how such a simple thing as a video call can really brighten someone's day and make them feel less alone.
I completely agree.
And it's not just in the digital world where kindness shines. Through Heartbeat, we learned about this incredible group of chefs in Toronto.
Oh, tell me about it.
They decided to cook an entire gourmet meal for the residents of a homeless shelter.
Wow, using their skills to give back. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
What struck me about this story was that it wasn't just about feeding people. It was about using their culinary talents and their passion to create a truly special experience
hmm
for people who are often marginalized and overlooked.
It's about dignity and respect
Absolute.
and recognizing that shared humanity that connects us all.
So true. And it reminds us that kindness can be expressed in so many different ways, even through something as simple as a delicious meal.
I love that.
Now, have you ever heard of a pay-it-forward chain?
Oh, of course, like at a coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Heartbeat script mentions this heartwarming story from Seattle,
Okay.
where someone started one of these chains at a coffee shop, and it kept going for over 300 customers.
Wow. That's amazing.
Can you imagine the ripple effect of that one single act of generosity?
It's like that innate human desire to connect with others
Mhm.
and the joy we get from making someone's day. It also shows the power of community. Even strangers coming together to create this shared sense of humanity.
Absolutely. And the amazing thing is, this pay-it-forward spirit isn't limited to coffee shops.
Oh, where else?
The script mentions a similar chain that happened at a gas station in Texas,
Really?
and it lasted for almost 100 cars. I mean, can you believe it?
That's wild.
Right.
It's heartwarming to see how these acts of kindness can transcend borders and cultures. It's like there's this universal language of compassion that resonates with everyone.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that sense of shared humanity is truly at the heart of all these stories. Speaking of which, how about this story from London?
Okay.
Someone found a wallet stuffed with cash on the subway.
Oh, no.
But get this, they actually returned it to the owner.
Wow. That's incredible.
They even went a step further and started a fund to reward honesty.
That's amazing. It's like a beacon of hope,
Right.
reminding us that there's still so much good out there in the world.
It is. And sometimes That good comes in the form of artistic expression.
Oh, I love that.
The Heartbeat script
Mm.
tells this story about a young artist in New York City who decided to use her talent to paint portraits of shelter animals
Oh, that's so sweet.
to help them get adopted.
And it worked.
It did. Dozens of animals found homes because of her art.
That's a fantastic example of how art can be used to make a difference. It's not just about creating something beautiful, it's about using that creativity to raise awareness, connect with people's emotions, and inspire action.
It's like she gave those animals a voice,
Yeah.
allowing them to tell their stories through her paintings.
Exactly. She helped those animals find homes and raised awareness about animal adoption. It's a win-win.
It really is. And, speaking of heartwarming stories, the Heartbeat script also features a story about a community in Berlin
Oh, Berlin.
that created a garden specifically for refugees,
Mm.
allowing them to grow food from their homelands.
Oh, that's lovely.
What a beautiful way to welcome newcomers and make them feel a sense of belonging in a new place.
It's so insightful, right? Because it recognizes how important food is to our culture. It's not just about providing sustenance. It's about preserving those traditions and connections to home.
It's about creating a space where people from all different backgrounds can come together, share their stories, and connect over food.
Exactly. It really highlights the transformative power of community and how we can create those welcoming environments for people who are new.
Yeah. And speaking of community support, there's this other story from the script about a local charity in Denver.
Okay.
They set up a place where people in need could pick up free winter coats. Imagine the warmth, and I'm not just talking about the coats themselves,
It's about understanding the struggles that people face
especially during those harsh winters.
and stepping up to help without any judgment,
Absolutely. It's about compassion and action.
recognizing that shared humanity and extending a hand to those in need.
And sometimes that helping hand comes in the form of a simple act of kindness, like paying for the person behind you at a gas station. Remember that story from Texas where the pay it forward chain lasted for almost 100 cars?
Yeah, that was incredible.
It seems like that spirit of generosity is contagious. The Heartbeat script mentions similar chains popping up all over the world.
It's a beautiful thing, right? It really speaks to that inherent goodness that exists in all of us.
It does. And those small acts of kindness, no matter how small they seem, they have this incredible power to brighten someone's day and spark a chain reaction of positivity.
I agree.
And speaking of chain reactions, have you heard of the hashtag Kindness Challenge 2025?
I've not. Tell me more.
It's this movement that's gaining traction online, encouraging people to perform these random acts of kindness and share their stories on social media to inspire others.
It's using the power of social media for good.
Exactly. It's a fantastic way to spread positivity and make a real difference in the world.
I love that. And you know what's interesting is how it uses those platforms to promote these acts of compassion on a global scale.
It's a beautiful example of how technology can help us come together and make the world a better place. So, as we continue our deep dive into these heartwarming stories from Heartbeat, Human Connections, I want to encourage all our listeners to think about how they can participate in this hashtag Kindness Challenge 2025. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture. Even the smallest act of kindness can ripple outwards, inspire others, and create a more positive world for everyone.
That's so true. And don't forget to follow @AI for the People for more inspiring stories and ways to get involved in spreading kindness. Because together we can make a difference. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll explore even more heartwarming stories from Heartbeat, Human Connections.
Sounds good.
One thing that really struck me while reading these Heartbeat stories is just how many different ways people express kindness.
That's true. We saw everything from those essential needs being met to using technology to connect, even artistic expressions or just a helping hand.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so inspiring. There's no right or wrong way to be kind. It's about finding what speaks to you and using your own talents and resources to have a positive impact.
I completely agree. And speaking of unique talents, I can't get over that story about the artist who painted portraits of shelter animals.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It shows how powerful creativity can be as a force for good.
What I found so insightful about her story was her understanding of her audience.
Yeah,
She knew potential adopters connected with the animals on an emotional level, right? So she used her art to capture the personality and spirit of each animal.
making them more relatable.
Yeah, exactly. Making them more appealing to potential families.
It's like she gave a voice to the voiceless.
Precisely. And by doing that, she not only helped those animals find homes, but also raised awareness about adoption. It's a win-win.
Definitely. And it's a reminder that we can all make a difference with our talents and passions, whether it's painting, writing, cooking, even just listening to someone. There's always a way to contribute.
So true. And speaking of contributions, that story about the community in Illinois that rallied to provide school supplies is a great example of how collective action can create real change.
Yeah, imagine the difference it made for those kids, knowing that their community had their back and was invested in their futures.
What's so interesting is that they focused on a fundamental need, right? They removed a barrier to education by providing those supplies, allowing the kids to focus on learning.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
It's proof that even those small acts of kindness can have a huge ripple effect and help create a better world for everyone.
And speaking of ripples, those pay it forward chains at the coffee shop and gas station are classic examples of how one generous act can spark a whole chain of kindness.
It's amazing to see that spirit of giving spreading from person to person, creating a real sense of community.
What struck me was that it was anonymous. Nobody was looking for credit or reward. They just wanted to make someone's day a little bit better.
It's like a secret mission of kindness spreading joy and positivity.
Yeah.
Just because,
Exactly. It reminds us that you don't always need to see the impact of your actions. Sometimes giving is its own reward.
so true. Now, those chefs who cook that incredible meal for the homeless shelter, that's a great example of using your skills to serve others.
What I loved about that story was their understanding of the human experience. They recognized that everyone deserves dignity and respect no matter what their situation is.
It's about going beyond just those basic needs and realizing that everyone deserves a moment of joy and connection.
Exactly. It reminds us there are so many ways to show kindness, even something as simple as a shared meal.
Yeah, and then there's that person who found a wallet stuffed with cash and returned it to the owner. That says a lot about the kind of integrity and honesty that still exists in the world.
I know, it's amazing. And then they decided to start a fund to reward honesty. It's like they were so touched by the experience that they wanted to inspire others to do the right thing.
It's like a chain reaction of goodness.
Hmm.
One person's actions inspiring others to follow their lead.
Absolutely, and it just goes to show how important it is to acknowledge and celebrate those acts of kindness, big or small. Now, remember that story about the community in Melbourne that threw that surprise party for a 90-year-old woman who didn't have any family?
Oh my gosh, that one was so touching. It just goes to show that we can all create that sense of belonging and connection for people who might be feeling alone.
It speaks volumes about human compassion
It does.
and the importance of being aware of the needs of those around us, especially as people age and their social circles get smaller.
And that brings to mind that story of those high school students in Japan who connected with seniors in care homes using technology.
Absolutely. It shows how technology can bridge gaps and combat loneliness, especially for a generation that may not be as comfortable with it.
It really is a great example of how human connection can transcend age and technology.
It really is.
Now, I keep thinking about that community garden they created in Berlin for refugees.
Me too.
There's about so much more than just having a place to grow food.
Right. It provided a sense of belonging, a connection to home, a way to share their culture with their new community.
It also highlighted how powerful a community can be when welcoming new people and making them feel at home.
Exactly. And let's not forget that story from Denver, where people could pick up free winter coats. It was practical, of course, but it was also so much more than that.
Yeah, it was about empathy,
Right.
realizing that everyone goes through tough times.
Sometimes all you need is a little help to get by.
Exactly. And those pay-it-forward chains, they're a perfect illustration of how small acts can snowball into something bigger.
It's like a domino effect of generosity, creating a more compassionate world one act at a time.
Now, bringing it back to these heartbeat stories, one key takeaway for me is that kindness is contagious.
Oh, that's a good one.
When we see or experience acts of kindness, it makes us want to be kinder too. It's like a cycle of positivity.
It really is.
And speaking of spreading kindness, remember the hashtag Kindness Challenge 2025?
Of course, it's a great way to use social media for good.
It encourages people to not just be kind, but to share their stories and inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, creating a global movement of compassion and empathy.
And it's not just those grand gestures. It's those everyday moments of kindness that create lasting change.
Like that viewer at Kind Heart LV, who shared their story on Heartbeat about helping their neighbor fix a flat tire.
Oh, yeah.
Might seem small, but it probably made that neighbor's whole day.
It's a great reminder that we all have the power to make a difference in the lives around us, even if it feels insignificant.
Speaking of making a difference, did you notice how the heartbeat show itself is having a real impact?
Yeah, like how that episode about the community pantry inspired similar projects in other places.
It's the power of storytelling. When we hear those stories of compassion and kindness, it awakens something in us.
It makes us want to be better people,
Absolutely.
do better things.
Right. And that's the beauty of these heartbeat stories.
Hmm.
They're not just feel-good moments, they're calls to action. They inspire us to help others and make a real difference.
I love that. So as we continue exploring human kindness, think about this. What small act of kindness can you do today
It can be anything.
to make someone's day a little brighter? How can you contribute to a more just and compassionate world?
And remember, kindness doesn't have to be this huge gesture. It's those daily acts of compassion, those small bits of support that really matter.
Those small acts can create ripples that spread out and make the world a more positive and hopeful place for everyone.
And remember to follow at AI for the People for more inspiring stories and ways to get involved in spreading kindness. Together, we can truly make a difference.
Okay, let's take a moment to let these powerful stories sink in. And when we come back, we'll wrap up our deep dive with some final thoughts and takeaways.
Yeah.
So we've talked about all these incredible acts of kindness, but what are some of your biggest takeaways from all of this?
Well, one thing that really stuck with me is the idea that kindness is a choice. We choose to cultivate it in our lives.
That's a great point. So we all have the capacity for kindness.
Exactly. It's not about waiting for the perfect opportunity or having a lot of resources. It's about making the conscious decision to be compassionate and look for those chances to make someone's day.
And it can be something as simple as a compliment
Right. Or just listening.
or holding a door open for someone. Those small things can make a big difference.
And they can inspire others to do the same, creating a more positive and compassionate world.
I love that idea of kindness spreading outwards,
Hmm.
like in that story about the community that provided school supplies for those kids.
Yeah, it wasn't just about those specific children. It inspired others to do the same in their own communities.
It shows how powerful it can be when we work together. And speaking of that, the hashtag Kindness Challenge 2025 is a great example of how social media can be used for good.
I think it's great how it encourages people to not only be kind, but to share their stories and inspire others.
Right. It's about creating a space where kindness is celebrated and amplified.
Exactly. It's about highlighting those everyday moments that really make a difference. So, to everyone listening, I encourage you to participate. Think about how you can brighten someone's day.
It could be something for a stranger or for someone you love.
And remember to share your story online with the hashtag Kindness Challenge 2025 and tag at AI for the People so they can spread the word.
We can create a world where kindness is just the way things are.
Absolutely.
So to wrap up our deep dive into human kindness, remember this. Kindness is a gift that benefits both the giver and the receiver.
It's true.
When we choose kindness, we not only impact others positively, but also enrich our own lives.
And the more we practice it, the more natural it becomes. It becomes this ripple effect that transforms communities and the world around us.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope these stories have inspired you to cultivate more kindness in your own life and share it with everyone around you. Remember, every act of compassion, no matter how small, makes a difference. Until next time, stay curious and be kind.